Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I am Jamila Swift, your New York City real estate agent. So today on It's All About the Benjamins, this episode today is called Goal Digger. Is now the time to go out on the limb and pursue your dreams? My guest for today is Mr. Ted Crawford. He's an entrepreneur that's very well known in New York City. Ted, how are you?
I'm great. And yourself? Good to see you, Jamila.
Thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to me today, as well as the viewers. So Ted, you are an overall entrepreneur, and you have a background in event planning. So now, to add to your resume, you are also coaching people on getting their lives together, life coaching, basically. So can you tell us what led you to start coaching, and can you just tell us a little bit more about your professional background?
Yeah, basically, well, my professional background, I was a marketing major. I went to State University College at Oswego.
Mm-hmm.
I have a major in BS in marketing and minor in acting and directing that I did nothing with. But throughout all of that, I was always business minded. So I've always just had a flair for marketing, putting together events, which spun me into a position that I created as an event planner. I started a company called Assorted Flavors Entertainment, and we're pretty much based locally here in the tri-state area. And we do a lot of, we do like 5 events per month, and we do an annual black tie event. So I just love dealing with people, working with people. And what I realized is throughout my travels, like I do a lot of other things too, but that's really the meat and potatoes of what I love to do and what I've been doing. Also have a 9-to-5 where I work in the transportation and logistics industry.
Okay.
And I've been there for 28 years. That's my basis, my bread and butter. But outside of all that, just dealing with people, whether it be my professional 9-to-5 job, my event planning business, or just being a landlord. Again, another venture of mine, being a landlord, a property owner. I realized that it can be really tough in life, whether the economy is good or bad. Life can be really tough and challenging. And I've always admired people who are mentors.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, we try to get the group of guys together to start that mentoring program that you actually pushed us to do. It never really took off, but it was a good start. And me and pretty much those guys are pretty much in touch to today. So that was a great connect on your part. But what I realized, mentoring kind of has a thing to it where I feel like grown-ups are mentoring young kids. And again, that might just be my definition of it. Mm-hmm. But then the new thing I call, which is the remix of mentoring, I call is coaching.
Right.
So what I understand about coaching doesn't have to be specific to like sports or an industry. It's life coaching. So you could actually coach people on how to really help them really fulfilling their dreams and goals. And I took a liking to that because again, I love mentoring. I love what mentoring has done for people. But I said, coaching is like the overlay, the granddaddy. And I thought that because I like it so much, let me, move into that space. So I took a lot of self-development courses. I'm a graduate from Landmark Education, did well over 4 years of work in Landmark Education. Mm-hmm. And I'm going through certifications right now with life coaching. And I just realized that I can actually add value to people's lives because people are in positions right now where they either want change to like a new, I would say, profession, or they just don't like what they're doing. They're looking for something else, or they just want to just leave the workforce and work for themselves. So I just know with my tools and techniques that I've developed over the years, I can add a lot of value. So that's why I came up with Ted's On Purpose coaching program.
So Ted's On Purpose coaching program. Now, I've known you for a long time, Ted, and you are indeed a people person. And I also have had life coaches on my journey, to get me to where I am today. And they really have helped me just figure out what type of blockages that I may have that have inhibited me from fulfilling my personal goals. Mm-hmm. So right now we're in the midst of, a global pandemic where 36 million Americans are out of work. I'm pretty sure 2 months ago, all of them did not see themselves, being in the predicament that they're in today. So there's a lot of uncertainty. And now I'm asking you, like, with everyone being so uncertain, how can you really encourage them to go out and to go for their dreams, like the dream career, or even go into a different profession as it is? What would you say? Like, what techniques would you use to encourage them?
Yeah, first, what I would like to find out from folks, I would like to find out, first of all, whatever job they got laid off from, like, did they really, really enjoy it? Number one, because I think for the most part, folks end up choosing careers that mimic something of their parents or something that most people had said they will be good at X. So I think in a lot of cases, people end up in jobs or careers that it kind of happen by default to some degree, as opposed to them choosing it. So I would really want to question and find out, whatever you were doing, did you really love it? Was that your choice? And if it was, then fine. Maybe there's some work to be done within that profession or that career that can fine tune their skills that could actually get them back into the workforce. That's one way to look at it. Another way to be is to say, hey, you know what? If you weren't really doing what you had loved to do, now may be the time to, I would say, still get back into the workforce, because we all have bills, and I know some folks like to grind it out and get the ideal scenario. So this is something I call parallel grinding. Parallel grinding is basically just working a job to pay your necessities, pay your bills, pay your rent, your mortgage, what have you, and by the same time working on your passion. And I really want people to really take a look at, maybe do some type of assessment for them to realize, what are you good at? Again, as opposed to what you were doing. What are you really good at? Mm-hmm. And not what people told you are good at. It may be a combination of what people had said and what you already know, or you can find that out. So I really want to question people to have them challenge what they are really good at, what they would love to do, not like to do, what they would love to do. And that can create a foundation for people to really start to say, hey, you know what? I worked in transportation, or I worked in finance, or I worked as a guidance counselor, and it was a job, but my mom and dad did that. It paid the bills, it was cool, but it really wasn't as, fulfilling as I would love a job or a career to be. So you really start getting people to just think. Because think about it, people are just following each other. One of my distant mentors has a saying. He says, like 95% of the world population is playing a vicious game called follow the follower. Everyone's following everybody.
Right.
No one's creating, no one's really going out there and doing what they really truly passionately love. It's almost like there's like a factory in the world. Everybody goes to this factory, which may be college, maybe 4-year degree, master's degree, PhD, or maybe just 4-year degree, and go into the workforce. Everyone goes to that factory of how to live. But did anyone ever ask the question, why is that the only way to achieve success? Or why can't you do that and something else? No one really stops to question much. So through my journey, I realized I went through that factory. Got 4 years of schooling under me, got me a pretty good job. But at the end of the day, what really fills up my spirit is working with people, helping people on my time. So again, the core pieces, really uncovering what someone wants. Then from that basis, then create a platform or a structure that can allow them to really fulfill in almost any dream possible. Not just a job, but almost any dream that they can dream of, if you will.
It's so funny that you said that your mentor advised you, or taught you rather, that people are just going through this routine like a factory and not really thinking about what lights them up. And you're right, because I went to college just as well. It's something that our parents, they dreamed for us, and we also partook in it, and we're very excited to do so. But as a real estate agent, I didn't need to go to college. I could have graduated from high school and started off at 18, go take the test, and who knows where I would have been today. But I'm glad I had that experience. But I'm thinking about so many people who are, in a predicament right now where they may be depressed and because they're unemployed.
Mhm.
And I wrote on Facebook maybe about a week ago that, I know at least 3 people who are unemployed right now. And to me, as someone who has been fired from jobs or laid off or whatever, I've learned that that's the universe's way of pushing you to your greatness. Like, this is now the time to really evaluate. Do I want to continue in this career that I hate, or what do you call it? What kind of grinding did you say it is?
Oh, parallel grinding. Parallel. You can do 2 things at the same time. Parallel grinding. So you do the necessities, benefits, bill paying, and then you work on your passion at the same time. Some people want to do just all their passion, but then if you can't afford to just do your passion only. I'll call it parallel grinding. Something I just came up with a few years ago. Yep.
So, okay, now while you're coaching your clients, because parallel grinding, to me, that sounds like, okay, I'm working multiple jobs. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have to do that, right? Mm-hmm. Now, how long is your coaching program? And to the person that might be kind of resistant to working 2 or 3 jobs to get to achieve that goal, what would you say to them to encourage them?
Well, again, I think if everybody's situation is different. So once I have an assessment with the client, I'll figure out exactly what's going on in their lives. See, I got to get to know them. If I don't already know them, they got to fill out a form. I get to know who they are. Then through discussions, I'll find out exactly what's going on in their lives, what their schedules look like, what are their dreams and goals. Because what I like to tell folks is you can have a plan to do something, but I think as an individual, if you have no one really overseeing and holding you accountable, we tend to even make goals that are just maybe just out of this world, and it becomes more like pie in the sky as opposed to a true goal. Or sometimes we'll make a mark for a goal or a dream that we can actually hit. So maybe that's too low. So I'll try to find that in between somewhere, that's going to stretch them a little bit to find out what's possible. One client may be able to work 2 jobs and still work on their dreams. Mm-hmm. Another client may be able to work on their dreams and maybe a part-time job. Mm-hmm. But I don't tell them, I don't offer the advice. What I'll do is I'll ask the questions, I'll do the inquiries, and they'll come up with the answers and the structure. And I'll just hold them accountable to to really uncovering who they are, what they've been doing that do not work. That's the first piece. We got to find out what they've been doing that doesn't work. It's the uncovering, the peeling back of the onion piece. Mm-hmm. Once we figure that out, and again, the timeline of that may take longer depending on the client, then they don't even know it, Jamila, but what happens is as we're peeling back the onion, they're uncovering themselves and they're getting off these calls and they're going to do some work to prepare for the next call. They actually already building the structure, but they don't even know it.
Wow. And that sounds even more effective because you're right. You're not telling them, it's coming from within them. So I think if anything, it would stick with them even further,
Yes.
The more it resonates with them, the more they get it and the more they're inspired to do so.
Yes. One of the coolest examples I heard a few years back, it's kind of corny, but it's the coolest example. Okay. Someone said to me, they go, well, I'll just explain it to you. Basically, if you think about the first time you know how to ride a bike, right? You think about bike. I remember my older brother, back in the days when I was young, I'm in my 50s, they would hold on to something called the sissy bar, which is like a pole that's attached to the seat, to the back wheel. It's a sissy bar. And it's almost like a pole that just holds the bike as someone's pedaling the bike. So my older brother would hold my sissy pole as I'm riding my bike, and he'll let go without me knowing. So I'm pedaling the bike. The moment I look back to see if he's holding it, I realize he's not holding it. I lose balance. And he'll grab it again. Then he'll do something slick, like he'll hold the sissy pole and he'll kind of leaning forward. He goes, I got you. You good. Just keep your eyes straight. So he kept my eyes straight. Then he'll let go of the pole and he'll stay there with me. And because I didn't look back, I was actually pedaling the bike and balancing myself.
Right.
And then I didn't know that, but he told me. He goes, you were actually riding the bike by yourself. I goes, no, I wasn't. He goes, yes, I was. The beauty of that is people think balance is taught. Balance is something that you get, you discover, you uncover. Once you get balance, you don't have to really study it again or learn it again. Once it's got, it's got. So the same thing about me when I work with my clients, I make sure that they uncover themselves.
Mm-hmm.
If I tell them who they are, it's my word. They can agree or disagree. Once they tell me who they are, they're listening to what they're telling me too. And then they're like, oh, wow, I am.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the discovery of something that, in the world of self-development, it's called transformation. A change or something you add or take away from is just add or take away or change. But transformation is a shift. Once you get it, you never get it back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can never give it back. It's gotten.
Mm-hmm.
And once it's gotten, it's yours. And that's what I love about what I'm looking to do. I'm looking for people to uncover themselves,
Mm-hmm.
not get better, not go out and save money to buy a car and reach that goal to buy a car. But if that's what you want, that's fine. But it's more of realizing what you've been doing that hasn't been working or that's been missing, than having you uncover the pieces that need to be placed in there that can get you to move you closer to your dreams and goals. And I love that. Dreams and goals. Dreams and goals. Dreams sound so good, don't they? Dreams and goals. Not just let me reach that goal or let me do that plan. No, it's any and every dream and goal.
Right. And you know what? I am someone that believes in dreams. And I just, I don't have too many fears in life, but one fear that I do have is, dying before certain dreams are realized. And I think a lot of people may have that too, whatever the dream may be, whatever the goal may be. So yes, I mean, now is the time. Now's the time to seize that, carpe diem, seize that dream, whatever it may be.
You said it earlier too. You basically said that it's almost like right now people are probably forced to do something different.
Right.
So and although some people are scared and they just kind of like they're shook, and sometimes when people are confused or nervous or have angst, some type of anxiety about something, sometimes it just paralyzes people because they overthink the scenario. But then other people, like survivors, I would call them survivors, they'll get out there and do what they need to do to survive, but then there's a special breed of person, something that we all have inside of us. Some of us just don't uncover it right away. Then there's that creative side.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? In forced situations, you are forced to be creative. Now may be the time to say, you know what? I've always wanted to do X. Let me give X a shot. Because if you're home most of the day, because most of us are told really not to go out if we don't have to, then you should make sure that time is not spent just watching a whole bunch of movies and TV shows and playing video games or doing whatever, we love to do in our spare time. Don't take this time and just do a bunch of leisurely things. Really start to research and dig deep into the things that you've always wanted to look into and really put yourself on your way. And then, look for a coach like myself, somebody who can kind of guide you through the process. And if it's not me, just look for somebody who you admire, somebody who's doing what you're looking to do. Because one thing I realize is powerful people and people who are at a level where most people aspire to be, they love mentees. But as mentees, we think mentors are too busy, unavailable, and mentees just don't want their time wasted. So I just say, go ask that person, ask them how they got where they're at. What was the path? Hear their story and tell them you want them to be your mentor. You have to request it. And the mentors I have in my life, I didn't really ask them. I said, I want you to be my mentor.
Wow. And how did they respond?
Yeah. They were like, okay, okay. And the beauty was they said, you know what, anything you need, just call me.
Mm-hmm.
They said, if I don't call you, leave me a message or shoot me a text, I'll get back to you. Because people about something just don't want you to waste their time. So if you calling them about bettering your life, it fills the spirit up of somebody, who's on certain levels who would love to pull someone else up. So, make that request, get creative, use this time to really, really just start by researching. You don't have to know all the answers. Just start by researching and get yourself a coach and or mentor to help pull yourself up.
Well, you said something very poignant a few minutes ago about holding your clients accountable. I mean, that's very effective too, because, we live in the age right now where there's so many distractions. You have your cell phone, text messages pinging every 2 minutes, emails, you have Facebook, you have Instagram, and then you just have life in general that distracts you. So it's really easy to get thrown off your game, but to have someone holding you accountable. Like I know when I had coaches, I knew, okay, Tuesday is coming. I didn't get anything done on this list. Let me get cracking. So yeah, I mean, I could see how someone would be really inspired by you just because you're holding I wouldn't say you're holding their hand, but you're just there to keep them on track,
Mm-hmm.
And so what were you going to say?
Go ahead.
So, okay, I know with myself, if I'm given a task and sometimes it's too big, my mind starts going crazy, like, oh, how am I going to do all of this? But I've learned to just take baby steps. Just do this one little thing today. This is what my coaches have taught me. And I mean, how do you handle this with your clients, Because sometimes when the task is just too overwhelming, my brain just shuts down. I'm like, oh, I can't do any of this. But if I'm giving just a little bit, just given a little crumb of an assignment, okay, I can handle this. And then I move on to the next task and the next task. And then the next thing you know, the goal is accomplished, Something that you do with
that's genius because what happens, Jamel, I think the most important thing for me to try to create, I don't try to make it a major goal, but ultimately my intention is to get the client to feel comfortable. I have to put them in a safe space. So I'll let them know if there's things you don't want to tell me, you don't have to tell me. Because I know in my coaching, people would coach me. People be like, well, the more honest you are, the better we'll get to the promised land or whatever you want to achieve. Like they kind of almost kind of sway you or coach you into coughing at the cat, if you will. But what I tell my clients is, you tell me what you feel comfortable telling me. But I will tell you this, make sure it's something that you feel comfortable telling me or something you find may be necessary based on where we're going. Because if you hold back and I don't have the full story, it's going to really be hard for me to tell you. But we're working at your pace. You're going to create the structure. I'm going to help you build it. So the pace of it is all predicated on how you would allow me to know as much as possible about you. But again, it's your level of comfort. So that my job is to create a safe space.
Right.
And one of the best ways to create a safe space is, and this is when I knew coaching had to be a part of my life. There's so many examples and scenarios in coaching and in life. If you really want something to stick with someone, they said the best way to prove a point is the best way. It said never tell a story without proving a point, and never make a point without telling a story. So I always tell people when they come up with a scenario about things that they challenge with, for some reason or another, Jamila, I have a story that matches that scenario.
Right.
And my clients tell me, and again, I'm probably going to run out of stories at some point, but if I do run out of stories of my own, I use someone else's story.
Mm-hmm.
But story sheds the light on the situation, and it humanizes me, because sometimes they may hold a coach and maybe two of a higher regard to the point where, oh, he's a coach, you probably don't have these issues. I share my stories. I humanize myself, of how I was bad with planning, how I couldn't reach my goals. And I don't do it to make them feel good. I make them realize I was I was where you are currently at right now.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the story. And people always remember stories because it's the emotions behind the stories.
Right.
And this is what they told me. Because you know what? The reason why I like working with you, Ted, is because I feel like you're just like me,
Mm-hmm.
with just more experiences.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you hit the nail right on the head. I am just like you.
Mm-hmm.
And my greatness is a journey. It's not like a destination I've reached. Now I'm a coach and I got it all figured out. I'm giving you my stories, my experiences, and then you're going to share with me yours. And then together we're going to build this structure for you. Now remember, it's your structure. So it's at your pace and based on your level of openness so we can get to where we need to be. I'm just so authentic and real. And I think they feel it. They feel it.
I'm sure they do. I mean, because you're quite relatable. And
Mm-hmm.
it's good that you do that, Ted, because I was in a sales meeting yesterday with my company, and my team leader, he was telling us, things that are going on in the real estate market right now. And he just said to us, you're not alone. So by him saying that, it kind of took the pressure off of us as agents.
Mm-hmm.
So you sharing your story or anyone else's, anecdotal story, it really alleviates any pressure that your clients may be feeling. And, I think it will allow them to become even more committed to their,
Yes.
whatever it is that they want to bring to fruition. So now,
Yes.
were you going to say something?
Yeah, I want to share something real quick. And this is just so fresh in my mind, too. One of my clients said to me, without giving specifics, because, it's just their information, it's their life. One of my clients said to me, they said, they go, see, that's why I like working with you, because it's like I thought that I was so far off from where I need to be or to create this structure. But by talking to you, I'm realizing I'm not really that far off, but I'm nowhere near you are. I says, no, correction. I said, correction. I says, understand this. I says, I love how they describe the game of golf. I said, in the game of golf, if you move the golf club a few millimeters up or down from the ball before you hit it, it would change the whole trajectory of that ball. It would determine if the ball goes 50 to 100 yards left, 50 to 100 yards right, or straight down the fairway. So I like to say, if you can just think differently, I told the client, if you can just think differently, and that's what we're working on, you thinking differently, peeling back the onion, that's the thought piece. Thinking differently, followed by the action that supports the thought, you'll be right where I'm at. Then he goes, how you figure? I said, because the difference between me and you is I built a structure and I follow it. I wasn't that good. My problem was I wasn't consistent with the following of the thought and the action.
Mm.
And because you're so unorganized and not really planful, you got all the ideas, you know where you want to go, but you're not disciplined right now to create the thought and follow the action consistently.
Right.
And that's a muscle. That's a muscle you have to exercise. Thought, action, thought, action. A lot of people have thought. Where's the action? Thought, a lot of thoughts, a lot of ideas, reasons. That's why it just remains a dream or something that they want to do. But if you have the thought followed by the action, thought, action, thought, action, thought, action, that muscle gets stronger. It becomes automatic. It becomes a habit.
Mm-hmm.
And then all those daily doings and weekly and monthly and annual doings will just rise up and then you turn around and be like, oh my goodness. So it's just a thought action piece over time will get you, you'll catch right up to where I'm at as far as my habit. It's a habit.
Right. Right. So, okay, now I mentioned how, we're living in a society where people are easily distracted. At least I know I am. I'm speaking for myself. So what techniques would you teach your clients to become even more laser focused? I mean, you just mentioned it's the thought and then you follow it up with an action. But let's say if they have kids and, you know, or a partner or a job that's draining them, like what would you tell them? What exercises do they need to employ to really get that in action, like to just remain focused and not be so easily thrown off their game?
Yeah, I love your questions. I think you're gonna be the next Oprah. Watch me. Yeah, you're gonna be the next Oprah. I love your question. No, because here's the funny thing, Jamel. Like I came into this coaching space with this plan and structure on how it's supposed to be and which way it's supposed to navigate. And here's what I think you should do. But remember, it's a customized coaching program. So if I have this template, I have more of an outline. But if I have this template, I can't treat this one size fit all template because there's so many different dynamics for each individual person. So what I do is I have an intention. I build a framework based on their filling out the form. The form is going to tell me who they are, what they do. The most important piece when I first meet a client is they're going to tell me what a typical day looks like. You know, give me what 75% of the time what your days look like. And you hear stuff like, my alarm clock goes off at X. I snooze it. Then I get up the second time the alarm clock goes out. Then I roll out of bed. I go in the bathroom, I wash up, brush my teeth, whatever the case may be. Put on my pot of coffee. On Tuesdays, because Wednesday's the big day, I do my clothes the night before, so I get dressed quicker. But on Mondays, Thursday, Friday, I get ready in the morning, so it takes longer. So I go in and pick up my clothes. I do X, Y, Z. So you hear all this stuff. But I don't just tell them to tell it to me. I tell them to write it out. And I keep it on a form. And then I just have their typical day sit there and I just look at it. And then there's a part where I usually do it early on, but sometimes then I'll say, I want you to write out what's an ideal day for you. What would be, how would your day go if you had every say in it that would make you feel so fantastic? Give me your ideal day. Then I have them look at what they're doing and look at what they love to do. Is two totally different things. Then I say, but why? Why is that? Why are the days so different? Well, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta get something, gotta. Yeah, they're going with this gotta. And then I tell my story. I says, well, you know what? For so long, I struggled with doing a lot of things on a given day because I always found myself running out of time. I constantly said, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. Then I started to research millionaires, billionaires, and very successful people. And what they tend to do is they tend to get up and do some of the most important things in their day when everyone else is sleeping. So to your point earlier, most people that I've researched, they get up anywhere between 4:30 in the morning and 6. For so many years, I said, I'm not a morning person. I'm not a morning person. That was my thought, followed by the word. I'm not a morning person. So guess what? I wasn't getting up at that crucial time with about 2.5 hours of time, but I can get a lot done. That would set my day up lovely because I had a story or a narrative that said, I'm not a morning person. Then one day I said, you know what? No one ever said I wasn't a morning person. I said it.
Right.
Why did I say that? You see, why do I keep saying I'm not a morning person? Even if I'm not. If these people are millionaires and billionaires and very successful, they said, like the Army says, what's that Army tagline? We do more before 8 a.m. than most people do all day. That's the slogan for millionaires and billionaires as well. So all I basically did was, Jamela, I wanted to get back in shape about 4.5 years ago. And because evenings take me by storm, I was inconsistent when going to the gym or working out. Someone says, Ted, I work out in the mornings. And I said, you know what? Most people do things between 4:30 and 6 o'clock in the morning. But 4 and 6 o'clock in the morning, most people do all day. So I said, you know what? Let me try getting up at 5:30. Jamela, I've been getting up between 5:30 and 6 o'clock for the past 4.5 years. I'm in the best shape of my life.
Wow.
I meditate, I pray, and I either run or work with my trainer through Facebook Live. I do that 4 days a week, and the 5th day is what I do on my own. I get all of that done before I log in for my job. So my exercise is done, my spirituality is connected, my meditation is complete before I even log into work. I've been doing that for 4.5 years. I don't doze off after I eat a big lunch. I don't get tired during the day because my energy is on fire. Meditated, read the Bible, and I did my exercise.
Wow.
I just thought differently. And don't get me wrong, I'm probably not the most convinced morning person, but it's done so much for me to embrace that space early in the morning so I don't get no text messages, no emails, no phone calls, no sirens or alarms, no Amazon, UPS, or FedEx guy ringing and knocking on the doorbell. My girl is in the bed sleeping at that time. I have the entire environment to myself. That hour is the most powerful hour of my life every day.
You know, you don't realize it, but
That's what did it.
you just coached me. You just coached me, Ted. Because one of my challenges is, you know, I really want to get in shape and drop a certain amount of weight, but I am not a morning person. That's the narrative that I've been feeding to myself.
There you go. Yep.
And my body clock right now is set up where I tend to work late. I'm a night owl. That's what I've conditioned myself to believe. But every day I wake up and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to bed at 11 o'clock. And then I'm going to get up tomorrow morning and start working out. But you're right. It's what we tell ourselves. I've conditioned myself to believe this. So you actually just coached me. I'm like, okay, I need to be getting up. You know, my 2 cats, they wake me up at 6 a.m. I need to get up with them and, you know, feed them and then just go on and do my workout. And you're right, that workout in the morning really, it does a lot.
Oh my gosh. And it's funny, like since COVID-19, I log my runs in the morning. I run on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And for years, even when I ran the marathon last year, for years, I do like 2 miles, maybe 3 miles in the morning. But again, you take the negative and you add a positive to it. Because of COVID-19, because I don't have to come back, get dressed and go to work, I take longer runs now.
Okay.
Longer runs. I'm not even training for any race. This morning, I did almost 6.5 miles. I ran from my house to the Barclays Center. I had my house music on. I was in a zone. I was so excited today. My left foot hit like a pothole cover piece, and I tumbled forward on Atlantic Avenue. I tumbled. You would think I was a stunt man. I didn't miss a beat. I rolled over, sprung off my arms, jumped back on. I got up to the beat and kept going.
What?
I got a little scratch on my arm. Jamela, you would think it blows my mind, just the energy that I give myself by building up over all these years, these morning runs where I'm not a morning person. You know, so I did 6 miles today and I felt great. Normally 2 or 3 miles is enough, but because of COVID-19, I just get to run. I just get to run, and then my endurance is building up, my mileage is increasing, and I thought because I don't move around as much that I'll be home gaining weight. I didn't gain out 1 pound since COVID-19's been in session, if you will. I haven't gained out 1 pound because I still do all the necessary core work in the morning before the day starts out.
Well, I can't say the same there.
But I tell you, it's not easy. It's not easy, but it took consistent thought followed by action. Mm-hmm. Thought, action. Like you said, changing the narrative. I never said it's going to be easy because in the wintertime, it's 10 degrees outside. Summertime, it's 80-something degrees outside. But more often than not, early in the morning is the coolest part of the day, and there's no distractions.
Right. Well, you know, it's so funny because I used to have this narrative about jumping rope. Oh, you know, I don't want to do it because it's going to hurt my feet. It's going to hurt my knees. And I just said, okay, stop thinking that way. Just do a little bit. Even if you can just do, 2 jumps and then you have to stop. So about maybe a month ago, I just went out to the track in the rain. And for me to go out and work out in the rain, that's a phenomenon right there because I don't do
Mm.
cold and I don't do rain. And so I just said, okay, I'm going to do this. I did 500 jumps. Now, a month later, I was at Prospect Park the other day. I did 1,200 jumps. And for me, that's a big deal. You know, I'm at
Wow,
myself.
that's
And you know one thing? My feet don't hurt and my knees don't hurt. This is something that I was telling myself that
mm-hmm.
my feet and my knees would hurt, and that has not happened. That has not.
Wow.
But you know, yeah, you're really inspiring me. Okay, I'm gonna go to bed early tonight.
There you go. There you go. And Jamila, what you do, you could add to that too. What you want to do is just the key piece to it. You want to be real with yourself. You got to be totally real because you've become this person after all these years and your routines and your what you do daily, your habits, and then there's something what I call there's called the curveball, like in baseball. You know, a ball right down the middle, you can knock it out the park. But the curveball comes in life, you don't see it coming because it comes in this loop, boom, and the next thing you know, you got all these plans to work out and exercise, but the curveball could be an unexpected visitor, a showing of a client who's gonna, you know, that life starts to take you back over again. You know what I'm saying? So you really gotta say to yourself, it's good when it works, but when the curveball comes, how are you gonna adjust? So you gotta kind of almost plan for the curveball. So what you want to say to yourself is, what is the least likely time that you're gonna be interrupted? You know, that's number one, and you want to choose that space. The other piece would be is if you are getting up early, then some people need a lot of sleep. Like I need a lot of sleep. Some people don't. If you're going to get up early, you might want to go to bed early. So you got to start to really set yourself up the night before. Get all of what you do in the evening. You got to cut that down, and it has to be a plan. It can't be a thought. It got to be a game plan.
Mhm.
Sometimes you may lie in the bed because you used to go to bed later and you can't fall asleep. So what? Just lay there, meditate. But at least your body is resting.
Mhm.
And I just say try for like 3 or 4 days.
Right.
But you can't keep going to bed the normal time, wake up early because your body's not getting the proper rest. If you need a rest, now you're waking up extremely tired. Then guess what the narrative is? I knew I wasn't a morning person.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
then eventually the curveball comes. Clients want to see this property. You got something to do with a tenant or potential tenant. Then your life goes right back to where it is. And then, you know, Ted was right. He's good. That's Ted. I can't do that.
Exactly. Exactly. And then I'm mad because I haven't seen any results.
You don't have it. Yeah, you got to really sit and think it through and find out when's the best time frame more often than not that you can fulfill on your promise on that exercise. And then you stay true to that, and then you build around that before and after. Because what I do a bad job at, and I'm still working on this too, is after I get done running, I love to stretch. But then I got to come home, I got to get dressed and go to work.
Mhm.
That's not a problem right now because COVID-19, but when this is all said and done, I go back to work, I won't be able to take those 6-mile runs. I can go back to about 2 or 3 miles. I got to come back and stretch, exercise, and get to work. So I got to get back into a more confined time frame, and I got to do it before the whole COVID-19 thing stops. So I'm realistic. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm loving it right now, but I won't have that much time. And I'm on to run 6 miles. It can take me about 50 minutes to an hour. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Whereas, you know, COVID-19's here, but runs are like 3 miles. That's like 25 minutes. That's a major difference.
Okay. So now you mentioned earlier that you are a landlord. You own it's about 3 properties in Brooklyn?
Yeah.
Okay. So now what if someone came to you and they said, you know what, I want to go into real estate investing. I'd like to become a landlord myself. Is this something that you can coach a person on?
Oh, I can definitely coach people on that because as you know, you and I both bought our houses at the same time, at least our first house at the same time. And so 20 years as being a landlord, I've been through the ups and downs, built a lot of solid relationships with, you know, bankers, brokers, real estate agents. I know a whole slew of them who could definitely help out. but
Like
also
me, like me.
oh, I know, right? Exactly. You know, you yourself, because what I realize is coaching people around being a landlord or owning a home, it doesn't really take me to be the expert in real estate. What it does is what I can do is I can tell my story, um, tell them to watch out for the pitfalls that are quite common, whether it be a bad tenant, interest rate that may not work based on your mortgages, how to really go through some of the basic numbers, price of the house, interest rates, taxes, insurance. I could tell them the basis of that, and then make sure they take advantage of a lot of the programs that are out there. One of my biggest discoveries I didn't get to use, I don't think you did either, is how do it slip my mind? That the government program that I think it actually was birthed out of the last real estate meltdown in 2008. Remember the mid 2000, 2008, 2007?
Mm-hmm.
And, there is a government agency that actually they pretty much they have a bunch of banks within their network, and they're negotiate for first time homeowners to get the lowest possible interest rate. And sometimes you can only put down 3%, 6%, or sometimes.
FHA. Are you talking
No,
about?
it's an FHA loan, but it's an agency, a government agency.
Oh,
It's called NACA. Have you heard of NACA?
Yes, NACA, yes.
Oh man, it wasn't around when you and I was on a come up.
No.
NACA is phenomenal. They what they do, it just you fill out the information and they'll pretty much go out there and they'll probably get you probably one of the best, because they're more preventative of people defaulting on their mortgages. Mm-hmm. So they protect the banks from getting any bad mortgages, but they set the people up as first-time homeowners to get a really good deal. I love NACA for what they do. I wish I could volunteer for them and just help out, because it allows those people who don't know what to do, how to get the best deal out the gate. And NACA is a government agency. It's not like a for-profit location that's trying to get people for their money. They're made to protect the mortgage industry, if you will. So I love it. I love it.
And protect the buyers too.
The buyers, yeah, more so the buyers, more so, yeah.
Right. Yep. So now what about coaching someone on their debts? Like if someone comes to you and says, Ted, I have $200,000 worth of student loan debt, or just debt in general, would you be able to, is that a client that you would take on?
Oh, yes. They'll be working with me because of all my, real estate, deals that I was doing off and on for years. Actually, I built up a nice hefty home equity line of credit, and I wiped it clean once, through a refi, and then I, got back another home equity line of credit. But the good thing about that is I did some research on paying off debt in record time. So I'm actually going through that process right now. Pretty much it's almost like you're paying more than what the interest payments are for. So in my case, if I have, let's say, for example, that person has $200,000 in debt. You want to find out, what type of debt it is and what is the monthly payments to pay off that debt. And then again, the key thing is being realistic, because some people got these pie in the sky scenarios. They'll take a chunk of money, put it on the debt, then pay the minimum payment for the next 11 months. And it's like, that might work, but it might take you 40 years to satisfy a huge debt,
right.
Doing something like that. So what you want to say to yourself is, how much can you actually roll into this debt while paying the interest on it, if it is an interest-only loan? So there's a different way you can skin a cat. So I've been doing a lot of research, and I got some connects from a guy based out of Florida. He's phenomenal at that. So I'm going through it right now. So I would definitely take them on that journey with me. And it's a bunch of good ways in how you can attack that. But again, notice what I keep saying. It's about being realistic with your plan. Right. People start out good, but they don't maintain. They don't have the habits in place. They don't have the structure in place. And I've been there. And I still do it to some degree in certain spaces, but once I uncover where I fell short, then I modify my plan and make it a little bit more realistic for today's time, for Ted today, as opposed to Ted last summer. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes modifications and adjustments will have to happen, but you got to be realistic with what you're looking to do and how you're looking to do it. And then I can definitely help.
I think also with tackling debt, people have to really think outside of the box in terms of, I've eliminated a lot of my debt, which has really freed me up to pursue dreams. Because when you have a lot of debt, chasing you down, I know for myself, I would hide from my mailbox. Seriously, like I don't want to go past that mailbox.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was incarcerated. I couldn't think creatively, and I'm naturally, innately a creative person.
Mm-hmm.
So, thinking outside of the box may look like getting a roommate. It may be several roommates. It may be moving to a neighborhood that's not quite as desirable, but with a goal in mind. I'm not saying you have to stay there for the rest of your life, but just say, okay, I'm going to just buckle down and do this for 1 year. Mm. And it's kind of like the immigrants, the way immigrants live when they first arrive here. Me being in real estate, I've seen a lot of cases where there'll be 20 people living in one house. Now, you and I may look at that like, oh my God, that sounds terrible. But their intention is, okay, we're going to give this a couple of years. And then the next thing you know, those 20 people go out and buy 20 houses.
Amen. I don't know where they get the mentality from, but I've seen it with a Trinidadian family where I grew up. And like 20 people didn't go out and buy 20 houses, but the same concept. Like they all stayed in the house, they all worked, had their own rooms, paid all the bills, and the house was paid off. Then eventually they started to spread out and buy the house. See, again, one of the key things, what I like to work on with my clients and my coaching program, I want people to work on their mind. Mm-hmm. You gotta train a mind. That's what I love about Steph Curry. I didn't do much research, but I would have reason to believe that LeBron James and Tom Brady, they work on their minds. You got to train the mind, not just the body. You got to train the mind. So I really get into the space where I tell people, you got to create new habits, and it ain't going to happen overnight. So you got to train your mind to really think differently. So one of the biggest takeaways I had from a training I took like years ago in my network marketing days was, there goes, in order to sometime reach some of your larger goals, or maybe even a smaller goal, is you got to take or make enormous, not small, enormous sacrifices for long-term gains. Because you said it. It might require you getting a roommate.
Right.
It might require you moving somebody in. It might require you living into a neighborhood. And people don't want to take that or make that sacrifice.
Right.
So you know what? You might not be realistic in what you're trying to achieve, but it's a short-term, enormous sacrifice. Like I know when I owed some money back for some stuff, some bill I had to pay in college, what I did was, and you know, it was so, I don't know why it was easy, but it was. I took my lunch to work with me for like almost a year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which honestly, that's unheard of nowadays.
Yep.
Our parents did that. Our parents and our grandparents did that, but you rarely see people taking their lunch to work now. At least I don't.
Yep. I had to pay back that bill. Yep. I had to pay back bill, and that's everything else had to be paid. So I says, what's not so important? Eating is important, but where I get the food from is not really important. Why am I going out eating, spending $10, $15 a day? That's $30 every 2 days. That's $60 every 4 days. And I started adding it up. I was like, wow, that's almost $100 a week. Yeah. So I take that $100 a week and put that towards paying off that debt. I paid that debt. So that's the enormous sacrifice. So I don't get to take the girl out, meet that girl I met the other day. I can't have lunch with her because right now I'm on a budget right now. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I can budget for a Saturday dinner a couple weeks down the road, but lunch is off the table because I have a goal I need to reach. And those are the sacrifices sometimes people are not willing to make. But I realize you got to buckle down and take enormous sacrifices because it might be that big, but you have to do it in order to achieve your goal. You got to do it.
So are there any last tidbits that you have to offer, like in terms of resources that people can go to? Like, are there any podcasts that you listen to or books that you would suggest people read?
Woo! Oh, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. one of the best programs I've ever taken ever in my life. Any training program. And again, some people have hangups about it, because, people may look at this video, this interview, and say, oh, yeah, my cousin did this, my cousin did that. For 13 years, someone you and I have in common, Mika Joseph, had told me about a program called Landmark Education.
Yes.
And my ex-girlfriend years ago said, oh, yeah, that's a cult. Don't do that. They have you doing all this other stuff. And then people say, yeah, that you're in the room and you can't do this, that, and the third. And guess what? That was the narrative. That was the story everybody was believing, and somebody fed me that story. And I believed it for 13 years. And I was at a crossroads in my life, and Mika Joseph walked up to me. No, actually, she was in my car, and she questioned, what am I doing with my life? Not in a bad way. She just asked the question. And because I was at a crossroads, it wasn't what she said, it was how she said it. And I was like, why'd you ask? She goes, Ted, because I've been telling you, I think you should really consider taking a look at Landmark. I went to an introduction, registered for the course, and I did about 4 years of that program. That's what got me into coaching, was my involvement with the Landmark Education Program and my self-development training and network marketing. The two of those things together really present me to my powers that I have and how valuable I can be to people. So I tell people, Landmark Education is one. That was the long version or long story of a training and self-development.
I can attest to that. I took Landmark for about 4 years, and it definitely changed my life. It opened up my mind in a lot of ways, and just in terms of relating to people. Mm-hmm. Shed a lot of emotional baggage that I was experiencing. So he's absolutely right. I mean, Landmark is definitely something worth looking into and exploring.
That's right. And there's other programs that are similar. You get to decide which one you chose. I went to the one that pretty much started, which most others was a spinoff of. I wanted to go to the persons who kind of created that methodology, if you will. Mm-hmm. All right. And then some of the books I highly recommend is The Slight Edge by Joel. Not the pastor, Joel. His name is Joel. What's this guy's name? Well, I'll come back to that. But The Slight Edge, it's amazing. I think it's John.
When you figure it out, I could put the name of the book in the description box.
Okay. It's called The Slight Edge. It's a blue and white book. Slight Edge, real easy read. It's about the small things you do daily that leads up to tremendous things, good or bad. So it tells you how daily activities leads up to the most profound outcomes in your life, in a good way, or which is really how you create your own demise, if you will, by having a bad habit.
Right.
And then another one is Think and Grow Rich. Yeah. And Think and Grow Rich, it sounds like it's all about money, but it's so not. It's just about it teaches mentality with a whole bunch of stories to back up the book. That's probably one of the most popular books ever written. And there's two versions. There's a regular Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and then there's Think and Grow Rich, the Black choice by Dr. Dennis Kimbro. Okay. So I read both of them several times. Mm-hmm. Another book is The Power of the Subconscious Mind. Mm. Oh my goodness. Power of the subconscious, and well, again, I'll get back to the author. Power of the Subconscious Mind. Yeah. That book will rock your world. I love that book. Also, Purpose Driven Life, Rick Warren. Okay. Of course, the best book ever written, the Bible. I just think that some people attach spirituality and religion and mix it up in a pot. They drink it and it gets them sick because they're sick of hearing all the stuff about whatever. I just say read the Bible, listen to all the stories, and all the lessons are phenomenal. The Bible, and I'm sorry that I said the Bible last, but that's actually, and I'm reading it right now, just going from the beginning straight through. I'm up to Numbers right now in the Bible. And then I tell all people too is probably the best book you'll ever write is your own. Mm.
Yes.
Write an essay or something about yourself, and then read it. Watch you blow your mind. Wow. Write your own book. Yeah, write it. Because what you think, how you see yourself, is not really who you are. And you know, I got my little tidbits. I heard this about a year ago say, "Who I am is what I think you think about me." That's who I think I am. It's what I think you think about me. And that's so crazy because we live our lives based on what we believe, how people see us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if you could understand that, you know, most, if not all of what we do is really to get a reaction or avoid bad reactions from people.
Mm-hmm.
But if you could just be free and just create and just live and just not worrying about being judged, you know what I'm saying? It's going to really create a happiness in you regardless of any other dreams or goals that you're going to have in your life. So like really like self-love and self-reflection is phenomenal when you start to really just cancel out everything that you think about how people are looking at you or saying about you, and just start to really live your life freely. But that takes work. It takes mental exercises. It takes reading a lot of books I just mentioned to you. It takes being interviewed by people like Jamila Swift, who's actually a mover and shaker, very creative. And Jamila, you have no idea how excited I was when I saw you the other day and you said you want to interview me.
Yes.
And you couldn't get me to be on anyone's video or on stage with a microphone in my hand talking to anybody about anything, let alone coaching. But here I am today, just in a position where I know I got great stories. I know I have a lot of value to offer. And I just can't wait to see how it turns out.
And like I said, you've coached me because I'm so inspired. You know, I'm really inspired. I mean, I'm thinking about some habits that I need to release from my life, and habits that I really need to embrace. So I really want to thank you for your time, Ted. I really appreciate this. And I just want to leave on this one note. You talked about how people live their lives based on how they feel that they are perceived. And you and I have a mentor who is now deceased, Dr. Wayne Dyer. And I'll never, yes, I used to listen to him religiously, and he would always say, "Your opinion of me is none of my business." Mm-hmm. And whenever I start to succumb in insecurity, I always think of that one line, that one thing that he taught me. Others' opinions of me is none of my business. And I'm surprised that is such a liberating quote, because I'm just like, oh, it's none of my business.
Right? Right?
So I got to keep it
right?
So,
I want to show you some, Jamila, before we hang up.
Okay.
This is one of my little, I have all these little mantras and sayings all over my house. If I'd done this like 6, 7 years ago, or if I saw this in someone's house 6, 7 years ago, I don't think they was a weirdo. But the fact that I've realized I can't trust my memory, I have these reminders. This is one of my major reminders that I've created. I framed it and I put it, it sits right by the TV. I stare at it every day.
Yes.
If I don't prepare myself to take on my day and my week, then that's where all the anxiety and everything else and it settles in, and I can't be prepared for the curveballs. But I'm always able to relax because I prepare myself. So preparation creates relaxation.
Yes. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you again, Ted. Now, how can anyone who's watching this get in touch with you?
Yeah, right now you can get in touch with me via my email. My email address is tcrawford145@gmail.com. That's tcrawford145@gmail.com.
Yes. Thank you, Ted. I am so proud of you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you
so much.
And
appreciate you, Jamila.
Yes, yes. And I will include all of Ted's contact info just in case if you missed it in the description box below. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I hope you really got something out of this today. Take care.